Okay, we'll start without wasting time. So most of you are aware that Library has organized this evening teaching programs. Two of our other Geshes, they teach in Tibetan. I'm also tempted to teach in Tibetan, but to benefit some who wants to listen in English. And since I speak broken English, so I thought it may be useful to speak in English. But in English, it's really not easy to, because the language is different, the cultural background is different, so it is not so easy to explain everything. I mean, even if you try, yes, you'll get some idea, but so if the teaching is given in Tibetan itself, it has its own flavor. Anyway, so the text that we are reading, they. Sit here. Then the marks okay. Oh yeah. So this text that I am reading today, or we are reading together, is a kind of conversation between Atisha and his foremost disciple, Dumtamba. Dumtamba and Atisha both, you might have heard, great, really not only great scholar, but great practitioner. And in the conversation you can see, I have accepted, because what I have distributed is the root text. And to explain this root text, I have worked for some time to take out some of the relevant parts from a bigger book, which is really the conversation between Atisha and Dumtamba. It's really interesting, because both of them are highly learned, and even Atisha refers to Dumtamba Cheresik. Again and again he says, you Cheresik, So the conversation they are having was not just ordinary conversation, but full of experiences. There's a tremendous amount of richness there. So therefore, I thought I will attempt to discuss this a little bit with you to collect merit for myself and also to help you get a little bit of familiarity with this text. Because there are so many precious Tibetan texts, we hardly even forget about reading and trying to understand. We hardly even know their presence. So that is kind of tragedy. So it is the responsibility of all of us who are interested in Buddhism, and especially the Tibetan youths, to start venturing out and explore these precious texts. Some of them are already translated into English. Like this one has 2-3 English translations, but one which I have distributed today is my rough translation. Okay, rough translation. So the text starts by saying, Bodhisattva Garland of Gem. Garland of Gem. Garland of Gem. If you have a garland of gem, you will proudly show it off. See, this is made of diamond or gold, whatever. So this teaching that we are reading today is really a precious garland. And the ordinary garland, ordinary gems, however precious they are, they can be stolen, they can be lost, they can be the excess baggage, But this inner wealth, they can never become excess baggage. They will never be stolen by other people. Once you have it, you have it. Not only for this life, but for many lives to come. So, Jagar Kedu, Bodhisattva, Mani Awali, Pugadu, Chanju Sembandu Vitingwa. So, I will just read the English. In the Indian language, Bodhisattva, Mani Awali. In the Indian language. Because Atisha, this conversation, the root text must have written in, I don't know, Tibetan or not. Anyway, if it is written in Tibetan, then this is to say this is equal to the original, work in Hindi or Sanskrit. If it is written in Sanskrit, then of course we need to say that this has been translated from such and such text, right? Okay. So in the Tibetan language, Changchu Sembe Nurvu Tingwa, Changchu Sembe Nurvu Tingwa. So in Changju Sembe Nurwitingwa, Tukji Chembola Chaksalo, homage to the great compassion. Now the text starts by saying homage to the great compassion. The text does not pay homage to Avalokiteshvara or Buddha or Manjushri, but Manjushri becomes great because of his wisdom. Avalokiteshvara is great because of his compassion. So in order to convey this message, he pays homage to great compassion. Now great compassion in general is a wish to remove sufferings of all sentient beings. Great compassion, it's called great because it talks about removing the sufferings of all sentient beings, not just the Tibetans or not the Chinese or all sentient beings, including the insects. Homage to great compassion. Chaksalo, Tibetan word chaksalo. This has been loosely translated as paying homage or bow down. So Tibetan word chak, salwa, there's two words. Chak means to sweep, kinying chawa, to sweep the dust. So here in this case, the dust is inner dust. Anger, jealousy, hatred, these are really garbage, dust. Empty yourself of this dust inside yourself. Then salva means to seek. It's good that you swept clean of all the negative things, which is like a dust within yourself, but you also need to get something. Sal means to get. To get what? To get all the good qualities like loving kindness, compassion. Enrich yourself with all these great qualities. Salva. The Hyudoa meaning salva. One, clean all the inner negative emotions. At the same time, seek all the positive qualities like loving kindness, compassion, and so forth. Great compassion. The Buddha himself, in one of his sutra, he says, if you have one practice, if you have one quality, one practice in the palm of your hand, you have all the practices. You have all the qualities. And what is that quality? Compassion. What is that quality? Compassion. I mean, we are going to read this whole text. There are so many things that we need to, remember and hopefully practice one day. But then just from the start, when we talk about compassion, imagine if you have this compassion, just one quality. If you have one quality like compassion, imagine. And therefore the Buddha, in one of his sutra, he says, if you have one quality in the palm of your hand, you have all the qualities. And what is that quality? Great compassion. As I already explained, great compassion means a wish to remove sufferings of all sentient beings. Now imagine if you genuinely have such a compassion, can you exploit others? No. Can you torture others? Can you cheat others? Can you bully others? Can you deceive others? All of these negative activities will automatically cease if you have one quality. That's the meaning. So that also shows the problem with us is we talk about many qualities, but we don't have even one. That's the implication. So that is also a great reminder to say that it is very good to talk about many qualities, but if you have one quality, you will excel. If you read, for example, the text is like Nagarjuna's letter to his friend, Ratanavali, or hearing letter to his friend, or precious garland. For example, in the precious garland, Nagarjuna gives a very lengthy discourse to his friend king, saying you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, almost the whole teaching, including something like secular ethics. Then in the end, he summarizes by saying that, okay, you great king, you're a very busy man. So I don't think you can practice all of this. And in fact, all these teachings that I have given you, not only you will be able to practice, but even the monks who live in seclusion, isolation, they will also not be able to practice. But as a king, if you undertake one practice, like for example giving, because you are king, so you can, take this practice of giving to people in general, especially the needy one. If you do this one practice, your name will shine out. Redwa is very powerful. Compassion or giving, whatever. There are so many good qualities we need to practice. But out of this many, even if you are sincere and able to practice one, you will really shine out. Oh, this girl, this boy, this man is very generous. It's my sponsor, Lhakdor things are. Right? So that's what he's saying. I pay homage to great compassion. I pay homage to great compassion. And these days people pay homage to money, dollar. So the focus is different. But what we know today is that we need all this material development, but still we are having problems, a lot of killing, a lot of conflict, because the inner qualities like compassion are not there. So these inner qualities are becoming a rare material now. Because the external things you can see the mobile phone, you can see the gold, you can see the silver. So therefore you want to cherish them, you want to own them. Inner qualities you can't see. Anything that we can't see, we tend to forget. Even your friends, when they are not with you, you tend to forget, you see. This is a human habit, human tendency. But then we need to realize that it is this inner qualities with your mind, which at the end of the day is the deciding factor. Whether you're going to become good or bad, it will be decided by your mind, especially by the good aspects of the mind. Homage to the great compassion. After that he says homage to the lamas. Now what is this thing called lama? Many people have confusion with this word lama. And some of the foreigners who visited Tibet earlier, after visiting Tibet and then after seeing that the Tibetans are paying a lot of respect to the lamas, then they said Tibetan Buddhism is Lamaism, which is wrong interpretation. If you say Tibetan Buddhism is Lamaism, then that has the connotation that it's not the authentic teaching of the Buddha, but something fabricated and made up by the lamas, which is not true. So therefore, we should never use this word Lamaism to explain Tibetan Buddhism. Yes, it is true, there is a lot of respect to the Lama, and in many cases, instead of just saying Sangye Lachao, I pay respect to the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, we also say Lama Lachao, Sangye Lachao, Shol Lachao. Again, the Lama is there. And this is not something Tibetans fabricated. If you read many of the tantric teachings of the Buddha himself, paying respect to the Lama, or paying respect to the spiritual teacher is the most important thing. It is the starting point of all your spiritual practices. But that does not mean to say that the Buddhism that we have in Tibet is something that Tibetans made up, fabricated. Number one. Number two, what is the meaning of this word Lama? Lama means superior. Lama. No, Lama means kung, tombo, superior. Now, superior in what case? In what sense? So therefore it is wrong to call all the monks lamas. People who have no idea, they call all monks lama. No. Lama means superior. Now superior in two cases. One, if somebody is recognized as reincarnation of somebody, then whether that may be the genuine reincarnation or not, that's a different matter. But at least we say, okay, if he is recognized reincarnation, then he must be supreme, he must be special. So we call those tulkus reincarnations Lama, not all the monks. Then in some cases there are senior teachers, senior monks who really studied very hard and who are also very kind and helping people. So people naturally go to that senior teacher who may not be reincarnation, but because of his learning, because of his compassion, his practice, people go to him, receive his blessings, his advices, and then people just naturally offer this title Lama. So that is also true Lama, right? Not all the monks. Don't call all the monks Lamas, okay? And then the Sanskrit word for Lama is Guru. Now if you meet the taxi drivers and everything, Guruji, kahan jayega? Guruji. So technically speaking, we are not Guru. Guru is the word for Lama. And Lama, as I said, refers to only those who have superior, knowledge or experience and things like that, right? So Guru, this Sanskrit word Guru is made of two words, Gu, Gu means ignorance. Ru means remover. This is a beautiful explanation. So Guru means remover of ignorance. remover of ignorance. Now if you settle down and think carefully about this meaning of remover of ignorance, there's a very profound meaning there. So Lama or the teacher is not so much just sharing the knowledge, but that the genuine Lama and teacher should be somebody who is able to really help that student identify his own inner potential and thereby remove ignorance within that person. Remover of ignorance, whatever faults like ignorances or other negative emotions are there, the Lama's duty is to show that, and so that the practitioner or the student is able to remove those negative emotions within oneself. It's not so much just giving, a remover of ignorance. So that has the connotation of empowering that person. Not just giving blessing, but empowering that person, letting that person recognize his or her capacity and ability, and as well as also the faults and shortcomings, and removing those shortcomings. Guru. So Guru also has the meaning of somebody who is heavy in the sense of heavy with knowledge. Heavy with knowledge. Means Lama is somebody who really has a lot of knowledge. So the teachers like Atisha, he became very famous. He was a great teacher. Although he was among the last, Indian scholars visiting Tibet. And when in India itself, Buddhism was really degenerating, and there were only few monks, even in his monastery, Otantapuri and Vikramshila, they were like countable monks. It was degenerating, okay? But he was somebody who had this great scholarship and also so much devotion to his teacher, Lama Selingpa. He nearly died traveling by the sea for several months to get this teaching from Lama Selingpa, Suwantipa, now in Indonesia. So Lama Lachaksola, this is a profound meaning, because if you want to get any really good experiential knowledge, teaching, education, you need to have a qualified teacher to guide you. There's the meaning. Even in ordinary life, if you want to study carpentry, you need a teacher. Even those things where we can really see by ourselves, there also you need a teacher. Now when we talk about Dharma practice, we are talking about those inner qualities which is invisible. We are also talking about how to, fare well to our journey in the next many lives to come. So there the teacher should be really somebody who has this complete experience and proper knowledge, and most importantly, compassion. So therefore, the more the Lama is important, the more the Lama also has the responsibility, and on our part also it is important to properly find the right teacher, the right Lama. Because these days, to become teacher also has become a business. You see? Right? So many will come and say, okay, I'll teach you, I'm great Lama, you listen to me, you come with all these offerings and whatever, things like that. It has also become a business. So therefore, the more precious you regard something, the more you need to analyze it before buying it. Just like, for example, if you are going to buy a gold chain, you need to really make sure, test it in many ways to make sure this is real gold or false gold. So similarly with the teacher also, as he always suggests, just by listening to somebody, that person doesn't become your teacher. For example, I'm giving these talks, I'm not going to become your teacher. So don't listen to teaching with that kind of perception. Of course, you should have a positive motivation. That must be there. Even if I give you a cup of tea, you should have a positive motivation. So similarly, you should have a positive motivation, but you don't have to accept somebody as your teacher because you have received a teaching from that person. Listen to that person as a lecture. Then if you got benefited, just say thank you. As far as if you want to make somebody as teacher, then take time, judge his personal qualification, his compassion and many things. Again also, don't be too greedy. You won't find a perfect teacher. You won't find a Buddha as your teacher. Okay? But at least, your teacher should be somebody who really has a lot of compassion and who has knowledge to share and who is ready to help you in your study. So the 2-3 qualities are very, very important. So take time, don't rush just like a dog rushing to a piece of meat. Take time. Oh, so why now this question, why one pays homage to, I mean this is primarily at the asking of Dromtompa. So he pays homage to the Lama by saying, and then he talks to Atisha by saying, right now luckily you the omniscient one, meaning Atisha, you are here. So because you are here, you are omniscient, you know so many things, so therefore I can clear all my doubts. I can ask you questions about my practices and clear out all my doubts. Now because of our fortune and many other situations and circumstances, if you leave this world and go away, then we will not find somebody to ask these questions. Look at the concern, the sense of responsibility. Like His Holiness Dalai Lama, when he's gone, imagine. Right now, even when he's giving teaching, not many of us show attention, we may not show that seriousness, you see. Now when such a great teacher goes away, then so you can see the purity of the bond between the student and the teachers. And the Dromtompa once asked Atisha, why in Tibet there are so many meditators but not gaining much attainment? Then Atisha said, you Tibetans don't regard Lama better than a dog, so how can you get attainment? Meaning that you don't, when you don't have this regard, respect, genuine respect to the really qualified teacher, how would you get his blessing? Blessing is not, one-way thing. It also depends on your receptivity, your mental attitude. So without devotion, it's devotion. I'm not asking blind devotion, but devotion is needed. Devotion is needed in every kind of relationship. It's not something peculiar to the relation with the Lama. Any kind of relationship, unless you have some kind of trust, some kind of devotion, you are not going to get that benefit of that relationship. And then he says, especially this, we are today living in a time of degeneration. Degeneration means the sentient beings have too many things going on in their mind. The negative emotions are too strong. The desires are excessive. Then hatred and anger is mushrooming. So we are a bunch of wild, unruly people. So even if somebody gives a very profound teaching, number one, we will not go to receive this teaching. Even if we go, we don't care about practicing it. We'll just, at the most, we'll say, I went to this teaching and it was really good teaching. So what? Right? So we don't practice. And not only that, we might end up accumulating negative relationship with the teacher if you don't practice it, if you don't show veneration, respect to it. So since there is such a possibility, before you pass away, he's telling Atisha, before you pass away, I really want to receive this teaching, towards which I can fully entrust myself. A teaching that I can fully entrust. And then he says, a Lama who is really worthy of such respect and who can help us collecting these two merits. Of course, Atisha is there, and there are many other great teachers like this. So therefore he requests, who are your teachers? In terms of Atisha also, there's a lengthy description of all the teachers. The names, even the names are full of blessing, things like that. Okay? So in short, I'm not going to the details. In short, he's saying that kindly, please give me this key of Dharma, the key of Dharma teaching, which is the source of temporary well-being and long-term happiness. Give me this key. That means the essence of the Dharma teaching. I am fortunate that still you are here. Please remove my doubts. because in the future, because of the time of degeneration and so forth, then unruly nature of the sentient beings, it will be difficult. So please give me this teaching where I can wholeheartedly trust. So this is the first section, which is the section where Atisha makes this request. And this is answered by Atisha by saying, yes, you are right. If you recount the names of all these great teachers who, lavishly offers this precious Dharma teaching, if you recount their names, all your obscurations will cease. So therefore it is important to recount the names of the teachers. Now, for example, in our own case, honestly speaking, from how many teachers you have received the teaching? Do you know the names? Maybe we have already forgotten. But at one point of time, I think I received some teaching from somebody. See, that shows that you are not so grateful or not cherishing these teachers very much. Jeru, alamsa. Michi ko kala himuji tena. Mi yaga jinda thingra wa tesri. Ado jesare. Topsa wa jesare sama. Topshor. Therefore, it is important to remember the names of the great teachers from whom you received the teaching. And then he says, Atisha says, in my own case also, my mind is rich. My mind is soaked, full of precious Dharma teachings. And all these precious teachings comes from some other person. Chonam Tamji Lungjing, all come from some other authorities. It all comes through successive transmission, directly, indirectly. So these precious teachings, if you just pay attention and listen to it, just by listening to it, you will get that happiness and satisfaction. So therefore, I will explain a little bit about this. And then Atisha explains about, I think, 150 teachers from whom he received teachings, and 6 their blessing. And thereby he also makes a prayer by saying that all of you who are here, may you also be able to relate at the foot of all many great teachers and collect merit and wisdom. And finally, may you be able to actualize Dharmakaya, the great bliss. And by paying homage and practicing great compassion, may you also actualize the form body. And having said this, then Dhamma says, thank you very much. It's amazing to be able to hear the names of all these great teachers. So in short, I use this one word, one line. I pay homage to the lamas. The duna lama namla chasalos. The lama kadi but the tharangandit. When Atisha wrote this other text, Changchu Lamji Doma, or Changchu Lamji Doma, the lamb of the path to enlightenment, there also he says, all these great teachings comes from the lama. Lama namji tebai. So this completes the first chapter of that dialogue, that discussion. And the next line says, homage to the deities of devotion. Homage to the deities of devotion. It's not only Lama, but there are also deities. It may be Avalokiteshvara, it may be Manjushri, it may be Vajrapani. There are many deities, okay? Bodhisattvas or deities, in whose relationship you will also get their blessing, their encouragement. So that is also important. But as far as relating to a special deity is concerned, there are so many deities. How can I make a connection? That is the question, you see. And there is a saying that, this is old saying. In the old saying, they say Indian practitioners, they practice one deity and achieve that deity. The Tibetans practice hundreds of deities and not achieve even one. But today the situation is, in India they say, karoron ka devta. In terms of these so-called deities, they have like several millions in India. So we also have a lot of deities. Millions I don't know, but we also have deities. Right? So in this case, especially in the lineage of this Kadampa tradition, he wants to make sure, since there are so many deities, which deities I should relate to in my Dharma practice. When I say I pay homage to the deities, which are the deities? So this chapter is a chapter where Atisha, in response to the question asked by Domtomba, Atisha tells him, or through their conversation, identifies 4 deities as very important deities. Kadam Hlahi. In the pure Kadampa practice, there are Hlahi, Chusum, Hlachu Dundin. So he talks about the Hlahi. And why we need this deity? He says, in this time of degeneration, there are many interruptions. It may be interruptions from evil forces. It may be interruptions due to distraction. Many interruptions. It may be interruption even from mobile phone. Many interruptions. The interruptions from evil forces come in many ways. In many ways. And therefore, and also it is difficult to find a deity which will really give you that blessing. It's also not easy to find a deity which really gives you the attainment, accomplishment. And not only that, in relation to some so-called deities, not only you will get attainment, but even your attainment will be taken away by them. So therefore, Domdamba requests us to show him some of the good deities. And then this is answered by Atisha by saying that please listen to me, you the one who is so intended to know about these things. Then he says, these are the 4 deities. Number 1, Shakyamuni, Buddha Shakyamuni. Not all the Buddhas, but Buddha Shakyamuni is your one deity. Then second, Avalokiteshvara, Kadam Hlahi. And third, Achala, Miyongul, Achala. 4th, Tara. When I was working with His Holiness in his office, His Holiness composed this, I think 2-3 pages text, which is related to these 4 deities. Especially when he was traveling to Mongolia and some of the Buddhist republics, he gave teachings on the basis of this short text. So since then I knew about these 4 Kadampa deities, and some years back I also commissioned to paint a Thanka of the Kadampa deities, which now you can see in our museum. If you want to take a photo, you can take a photo to know these Kadampa deities, which is very, very important. Now why they are important? He explains this a little bit by saying that if you want to really reach a secure place, that means place of enlightenment or nirvana, whatever, if you want to reach a place of secure, there is no one better than Buddha, Dharma and Sangha to take refuge. Chamgunedi, Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. Now out of these 3, Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, the supreme is the Buddha. Now when we talk about Buddha, not only in many aeons, but even in this particular aeon, which is called Fortunate Aeon, there are 1,000 Buddhas. 1,000 Buddhas. Now out of this 1,000 Buddhas, in this world, which is called fearless world, Miji Jigde, Miji means fearless, fearless world, not because we are courageous, but this world is called fearless world because you don't fear afflictive emotions. You don't fear desire, you don't fear attachment. You want to develop more attachment, more anger, more jealousy. So therefore it is called fearless world, not in terms of bravery, but in terms of having no fear in developing these negative emotions. So in this fearless world, the Buddha that is really related to our karma is Buddha Shakyamuni. So therefore you choose this as one of your deity. And then among the bodhisattvas, there are many bodhisattvas who have reached many high spiritual realizations, but one whose compassion is incomparable is Avalokiteshvara, who is now believed to be on the 10th spiritual ground, and he is especially the deity, the shared deity of the Tibetans. Pujilhaki Chenesi, Chuke Mani Lagudwa. Chuke, the Dharma share that you have is Om Mani Padme Hum. That's why we say you don't have to teach Om Mani Padme Hum to Tibetans. They'll pick it up, clearly showing that this is your share. Chirangi Thoke, Chirangi Kela. So similarly, the deity is Avalokiteshvara. Pujilhaki. And then there is a female deity who is spotless, blameless, and is full of qualities, full of wisdom, and who is known as the one who protects you from the 8 fears, Doman Jikpa Jejuk. So that should be one of your deity, Dolma, Tara. And he says, this Tara is also my deity and should be also your deity because you are my student. When Atisha was requested by Naksul Loshawa and others to come to Tibet, then he consulted. His personal deity was Tara, and he consulted, how about going to Tibet? And she said, wonderful, you will do many great things, but your life will be shortened. I think 5 years shortened or something like that. So clearly Tara was his personal deity. So similarly, those of you who are my students should have Tara as your deity. And then he says, in order to choose these deities, you need to be careful. Because he says there are also those who, even if you pray continuously, probably there's no word of Shungden at the time, but the evil spirits are there in those days also. So it's not like His Holiness saying for the first time. He says, there are those who you prayed regularly, all the time. But at the time when you're about to die, they'll take your life. Such bad spirits are worse than the ghost. It's better that you stop such things quickly, because those kind of pseudo, deities will take you to the lower realm, lower birth. And the one that really is reliable and gives you attainment all the time, and which is said to be born from Buddha's own body, is Akshobhya. I don't know how popular in tantric practice. Yes, it is very much there. Miyowa, Toho Miyowa. In Japan, it is very popular. In many monasteries, you will see the image of Toho Miyowa. I think we have one statue, probably brought from Tibet, in the museum, Toho Miyowa. So that should be one of your deity. So these are the 4 deities of Kadamba or 4 deities of Damdamba. So regarding the deities which are the object of devotion, these are the selection of the 4 deities for our objects of devotion. Lahi. Discard all doubts, cherish persistent practice, thoroughly relinquish sleep, lethargy and laziness, and always strive and persevere. So therefore Atisha says that in your mind there should not be many doubts. Doubts of course will come. So what he is trying to say is, to remove, if you want to remove all these doubts, then you must study the 3 Pitakas. Diva Doding Ngomba. Study. His Holiness regularly says, study, study. Don't just follow the rituals. Study. So that's why he's saying, if you want to remove all of these doubts, You need to practice, you need to study these Pitakas. And he says, if you are somebody who is really concerned about your long-term well-being and future well-being, then following such a path taught by the Buddha, following the teachings of the three Pitakas, three discourses, is the best. This is, I think, a crucial point, because for many of us, there are so many things to do in the world. So we might think, okay, it's better to do a business, it is better to go north, south, east, west. But he says, if you are looking for long-term, reliable career, this is the best. Because it talks about how to build strong inner resources, including morality, concentration, wisdom, and so forth. And if you have these inner resources, you will be fine wherever you go. You will be able to find the solution for all the problems. And when we don't have these inner resources, then when we confront a problem, when we meet a difficulty, we don't know how to handle it. The only thing is, scratch your face. Or at the worst, commit suicide. There are many helpless, because they think all my happiness and peace will come from outside. From my friends, from my relatives, from a nice house, from a nice car, things like that. Right? But it is our daily experience that the reliable peace and happiness doesn't come from material resources. We do get some benefit, but I'm talking about reliable, long-lasting happiness. If you, those of you who have this experience of living in America and many European and developed countries, you know this very well. Because they think all my peace and happiness will come from outside. For example, they say, okay, if I have this kind of house, I will be happy. Then spend few months or few years, then say, oh, this house is too small, or the ventilation is not good. Then you want to change that house. Similarly, you buy a new car after a few months, a few years, oh, something is wrong with this car. And you change that car. Now that trend has happened not only with the furnitures and other facilities, but also with the husband and wife. This wife didn't work, divorce. Next wife will definitely work. And the next one also doesn't work. So you keep on, changing your furniture, your husband, your wife, your whole life, thinking that your happiness, long-lasting happiness and peace will come from outside. And it doesn't come there. It will not come, because that is called misplaced trust. You are looking in the wrong source for happiness. The real source for happiness is within oneself. Because what is outside of you, including the external facilities, the weather, the house, whatever, they are outside of you. What is outside of you, you have no control. Despite your trying your best, you have no control. Right? But how would you react to their changing situations and events? That is within your control. So what these teachings, like any other experienced person, what these teachings is saying, that you should work with those with which you have control, not with those with which you have no control. With those which you have no control, if you think that is the source of peace, and when that doesn't come, then you think there is no hope for life. Then you think about taking drastic measures, including committing suicide and so forth. Right? So at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, you need to protect yourself. You need to cultivate your peace and happiness by yourself. Nobody can help you to give you that long-lasting peace and happiness. Not because they are bad. Even if it is your brother, sister, or somebody who is really, really wonderful, amazing, but there's a limit that he or she can do. They cannot enter into your head and think for you and plan for you, make you happy all the time. They can't do this. At the most, they can give you a lot of money. But if your mental outlook, your way of thinking is wrong, you will get the problem. So in short, that's what he's saying. That's why he's saying that if you want that long term peace and happiness, then you need to understand the meaning of this great teachings taught by the Buddha and clarify your doubts. All of your doubts will be clarified if you understand few things. But if your mind is full of doubt, especially unnecessary doubt, then it's difficult to achieve enlightenment. Enlightenment is possible through one-pointed concentration. Concentration, as we say, is the source of success both for peace and for war. It's not only something said in Buddhism, right? So concentration is very, very important. Concentration in general, and especially concentrating for one's long-term well-being, is very, very important. So therefore, give up all doubts. And that doubt will be removed. That you can remove that doubt by questioning, not by praying, by questioning. The more you ask question, the more you get answered. The more you get answered, the more doubts will disappear. That's what I'm saying. Now, in order to do that, you should not be lazy. If you are lazy, as one of the Buddhist teachings says, that person who has one laziness will not have even one quality. That's not true, but that is to show that if you are lethargic and lazy, you can't achieve anything. Fails. And then the drawback of being lazy is your long-term course, your long-term happiness will be lost. Because temporarily you are attached to sleeping, remaining lethargic. How can you achieve those things? So therefore he says, think carefully about this point. If you really want a long-lasting happiness, fulfill your long-term so-called career, then think about this very carefully. Number one, you need to know the meaning of these profound teachings. And the knowing alone is not enough. What is even more important is practice. It's not enough to talk about this long menu in a restaurant unless you eat it. Even if you memorize the whole menu, it is of no benefit unless you eat it. So practice it. And then Domtamba asked him, since you have taught many profound teachings, therefore I am now able to see all these teachings are basically of one test, meaning that they all are condensed in these three discourses. The set of discourses on monastic discipline, on wisdom, on concentration. So this is the wonderful teaching that you gave and the deities gave. So therefore, I will summarize what you taught by saying, so this is the summary, discard all doubts. Discard all doubts and cherish persistent practice. Means that you, in terms of your practice, you should do it repeatedly, regularly. So that's all. He makes it very simple. So this basically talks about how to select the three teachings. Kadam Hlashi Chusum, three dharmas. Diva Dodi Ngomba. Kadam Hlachu Dune, the one who does the pure practice of Kadamba, has to select these four deities and the three teachings, Dodi Diva Ngomba. Now we need to do this rigorous practice by after having selected these three discourses. The reason is because this precious human life that we have obtained today is very difficult to obtain. Don't take it for granted. Don't think that the human beings who will die will be born as human beings again. Dogs that dies will be born as dog again. In Buddhism, what you will be in the future depends upon your karma. So there's no guarantee that you will be born as a human being. Even if you are born as a human being, there's no guarantee you will meet the Dharma teaching and so forth. So he says, this precious human life is very difficult to find, and meeting with this teaching of the Buddha is extremely difficult. So this life, which is very difficult to find, we have found one, but it is impermanent. The life is ebbing out, day and night. It's not stopping. Right from the moment of the birth until you die, life is ebbing out. It's running with highest speed. And when are you going to die? Nobody knows. One thing that is sure, definite, is that you are going to die. And what is not sure is when you are going to die. This point we need to think very carefully. If you really want to do Dharma practice, this point we need to think very carefully. Not to frighten you, but to wake you up. We are not waking up. We are lost. We are in stupor. We are in an unconscious state. Completely lost with the small things in life. In Arya there was 400 verses. He says, if two kids are playing at the side of the seashore, and one guy builds a sand castle, the another one, the naughty guy, comes and gives a kick and destroys that castle, then the child who built the castle will cry as if a real castle has been dismantled because of his innocence. And then the elderly, the parent, they will come and say, oh, this is just sand castle, not the real castle, don't care, don't cry. So similarly, the things we are doing in this ordinary life is like that child building sand castle. So when you are so absorbed and lost in these petty small things, not realizing how long you are going to live, and the need to do many important things which only human beings can do, then that's a great tragedy, great loss. It makes sense, right? It's not talking about whether you are going to achieve enlightenment or what is future life, but practically, even if we think logically, human life is different than many other lives because we have this amazing capacity, brain, mind, to judge between what is right and what is wrong, to think about long-term well-being, not only of oneself but many other sentient beings. So having such a great potential, if you misuse this or not use this potential, it's a great loss. That is what he's saying. So therefore, it's important to now concentrate and think more about your practice so that you are able to reach that secure place to get that more reliable happiness in this life and for many lives to come. So therefore your sleeping and whiling away your time is meaningless. And one who really thinks about, like for example, many of the destructive, negative things we do in our life is because we don't contemplate on impermanence and death. There is a story of an Indian actor who wanted to play a scene of being a criminal and who is going to be executed and things like that. So in order to play this scene, he really wanted to meet somebody who is going to be executed and see what is the facial expression and thinking of that person. So he goes to that jail and asks the permission of that person whether such a criminal is there. And he said, yes, there is one. There is one person here, he will be executed tomorrow. So when he goes to this cell where this person was there who is to be executed tomorrow, to his great surprise and in fact shock, he finds that person singing a song. Singing a song. Singing a song. He was said, I can't believe this with my eye. In my actual, shooting and play, if I do such a thing, they will kick me out, So then he asked this jailer, how come this is, I can't believe this. He said, no, this is not unique. All the prisoners, just before execution, when it is decided they are going to be killed, executed, they all do the same thing. That's the thing. The concentration that we are talking about doesn't come just by saying concentrate, concentrate. It doesn't come. When you really see the reality, concentration comes automatically. At that spur of the moment when they are sure they are going to be killed or they are going to die, then they see the futility of many stupid things that we do in our life. Then they think, oh, this is the best moment to sing a bhajan, religious song, concentrate. It comes automatically. Amazing. You see? So therefore, this meditation on impermanence is said to be really the one that opens the door for all Dharma practice. That's why the first teaching that the Buddha gave us on impermanence, because the first teaching that he gave was on Four Noble Truth, out of which the first teaching is the truth of suffering. And he explains the truth of suffering with 4 features. And the first feature was impermanence. Now impermanence is also especially your impermanence, your nature of death. Not just whether the tree is impermanent, the rock is impermanent. You can also always, explore those, but that is not so relevant. What is relevant is in your own case, since you are going to die, that's 100% sure. Now when you are going to die, not so sure. Depending upon your age, you can fathom out when you are going to die a little bit. But the problem with us is we all know we are going to die one day. Especially when the question is asked. We all know we are going to die one day. But the problem is everybody thinks, I'm not going to die today. And then tomorrow comes, I'm not going to die today. Even if you ask this question to a very old person, like 99 years old or something, are you going to die? He said, yes, I'm very old, I'm going to die. Are you going to die today? Today, maybe not. That's called tangzin. Tangzin is same. Very different. So this, for me, I'm not saying I'm a great practitioner or anything like that. What I'm saying is this, I see the importance of this practice. Because when we talk about suffering, impermanence, these teachings are given not to make our life miserable. And then the Buddha and many great Buddhist teachers, they say suffering is introduction to happiness. Somebody, journalist, went to Bhutan and he asked one Bhutanese, why you Bhutanese are so happy? Then this Bhutanese guy said, because we always meditate on suffering. It really looks like paradoxical. But if you really understand the reality, nothing else is left but to smile, to be happy. And look at the beggars. People who are rich, who have, in the higher social strata, have money and things like that. They don't laugh or smile much. Even if they do, it's not really, natural. But if you look at the beggars who have nothing, they're always singing and dancing, kicking the empty bottle or whatever, Because when there's nothing left, then the only thing that will help you is to be genuine, to laugh, to smile. So what? There's the thing. I read once in a book, now I forgot the name, Lojong Tepchik. I read one mind training book. It talks about 3 criminals to be killed tonight. To be killed tonight at 10 p.m., let us say 10 p.m. So now they have, like right now it is nearly 6. So only 4 hours there. So these 3 criminals who will be killed at 10, they have only 4 hours. So during this remaining 4 hours, how they should behave? Engage in corruption? Doesn't make sense, right? Exploit and bully each other? Doesn't make sense at all. It's so interesting, look at this insight. The only thing that is sensible is counsel each other, do some prayers, encourage each other, think something about positive things. That's the benefit of meditation on impermanence. Buddhist teachers, they say there's no need to kill, they will die. Whereas the rest of the so-called great leaders and intelligent people, they are stockpiling arms. And the arms also now like so powerful, nuclear bombs. Now we hydrogen bomb. Somebody told me recently, few thousands of hydrogen bombs are there already in the world, which can destroy the whole world several times over. Stupidity. Buddhist teachers say, oh, you don't have to kill them, they will die. Wisdom is there, really. It's real wisdom. Right? So therefore, when you really think about these realities like impermanence, then it makes complete sense to smile, to be happy, to help each other. It makes no sense at all to bully each other, exploit each other, develop resentment, jealousy and so forth. It doesn't make any sense. Just to drive this point, I'll tell you another story at the time of the Buddha. A mother and her child, son, came to see the Buddha. And then the Buddha said, pointing to the child, he said, oh, you have only 1 year to live. And the child was like horrified. He came unprepared about his death, and suddenly Buddha says, you have only 1 year to live. He was shocked. And he clung to the skirt of the mother, cried and things. Anyway, they left. So after 6 months, they came back. And the Buddha said, now, out of the 1 year, you already spent 6 months. During these 6 months, did you do anything negative, destructive? He said, since you told me I have only 1 year to live, how can I do anything negative within this short time? That's the thing. And then the Buddha said, no, I just told you to teach you this lesson. I don't know when you are going to die. That's the point. Therefore, if you really think about impermanence, then there will be a quantum leap. Quantum leap, I'm saying. Otherwise, you talk about nirvana, enlightenment, it's wonderful, right? It's wonderful for holidaying practices. But it will not move you. It will not shake you. It will not make you. And then also interesting, if you use your logical reason, the interesting thing is, the more you are able to see the reality. That's why in Buddhism we talk about seeing the reality of suffering, seeing the reality of impermanence, seeing the reality of shunyata. Why they are talking so much about this? They are talking so much about this because the more you see the reality, the more it makes sense to be loving, to be compassionate, to help each other, so forth. For example, I'll give you another example. Let us say in front of me there is another old man or woman, 99 years old, whatever. Not only 99 years old and very old, but also physically very sick. Wounds all over the body, pus is oozing out. If there is such a man, and if you are able to see that reality clearly, what is the benefit? The benefit is, to this person, you will not develop attachment. Attachment, will anybody come forward and say, oh, this old man with a wound all the body, I want to marry him? Will anybody say things like that? No. Similarly, will you develop hatred to this person? No. You will instead develop some kind of sympathy, some kind of compassion. Oh, poor thing, old man, we should help him, The more you see the reality, the more these positive emotions come. That's why in Buddhism there's a repeated talking about understand, shunyata, understand. It's not talking about just doing some dry, intellectual game, philosophical game. The reason is, the more you see the reality, the more it will help you, more it makes sense to develop these positive qualities. That's the reason. Oh, did it. So think about the preciousness of human life, how difficult it is, but luckily you found one, but it's going out very soon. Very soon you are going to die. So when you die, what you are going to take? You can't even take your plastic card. There's no machine installed, ATM machine installed in the other side of the world. So what are you going to take? I'm trying to simplify, things like that. I'm not saying you just throw away everything because you're not ready. It happened at the time of Milarepa. There was somebody so, influenced by Milarepa of his great practice. And he said, oh, he's such a great practitioner. He has nothing. He, renounced everything. So I must imitate like him. So he also threw everything, all his possessions he gave and threw away and become beggar overnight like Milarepa. After a few days he started suffering because his mind was not ready. Then he said, Milarepa the Khorang Pangwa Chewa Maze Ngaya Pangusus. And he said, this is Milarepa, not only he became beggar, he made me a beggar. So it's not saying just stupidly, throw away everything. But it means removing that mental clinging. Removing that mental clinging. The patient called Hidam Bardam Chene. Hidam Bardam Sigdo Angnozo, Bugenala. Hina Lugumatam, then Dungdua. That depends on my Tangushina. And if you look carefully, so many things to say. There's countless problems that we are facing today. Environmental degradation, pollution of water, air, everything is because of greed. I want. So there's the thing. That's what he's saying. So give up too much sleeping, remaining lazy. And he says, beautifully he says, this life, I know you are concerned with this life, but this life, however, difficult it may be, but somehow you will be able to deal with this life. Whatever may come, but this life will be okay. Because you are living with other human beings. You can talk, you can speak in human language, seek their help, You will somehow be able to live this life. They want the muscle, but need the timid because so don't let yourself completely overpowered by thinking only of this life. Don't get obsessed with this life alone. And if you remain lazy and don't pay attention to these greater things like what is taught by Buddha, you will lose everything. Right? And in fact, if you want to talk about achieving higher rebirth, human life, nirvana, enlightenment, all this is possible through making effort, through hard work. Now here effort means not just working hard. It means delighting in what you do. Enjoying what you do. Just like somebody interested in playing football. Because that person is interested in playing football, even if there's no proper playground, they will play. Even in the night, they will try to give few kicks, So like that, in the Dharma practice also, if you see the reason, if you develop this liking, you will pick up this book of His Holiness, the Buddha, and read it, and that is how you will enrich yourself, and that is how you will find your way to remove all the negative emotions. So there should be interest. So making effort is very, very important. With mindfulness, introspection and care, always guard the doors of the senses. Repeatedly examine your mind 3 times a day, 3 times a night. So in order to successfully practice, you should always be mindful, means don't forget the practice. The practice that you need to do, don't forget that. Always remember that. Mindful. And at the same time, introspection means see whether the mind is focusing on the practice or not, whether the mind is wandering away or not. So in Buddhism, the most important thing is controlling the mind. Tsongkhapa in his Lamrim Chemo, he says, you are controlled by your mind, right? Your mind is controlled by, unfortunately, your mind is predominantly controlled by negative emotions. Therefore, you are suffering. Now, undertake a practice in which your mind is, if not wholly, but predominantly controlled by positive emotions. So it's like election. There is this party of negative emotion, party of positive emotion. So far, unfortunately, the negative party, the party of negative emotion, won landslide majority. So the self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping ignorance the two bosses of the negative emotion party, they already captured the headquarters of a mind. So ignorance is here, self-cherishing attitude is here, and from the positive emotion nobody is challenging, so they are stretching their leg and relaxing and sipping nice cup of coffee and sitting there. That's the problem. That's really the problem. So therefore now when we talk about meditation and Dharma practice, it means get habituated with the positive emotions. Empower compassion, empower wisdom, empower loving kindness, enthrone them, dethrone the negative emotions, ignorance, self-cherishing attitude, dethrone them. That's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. So for that, you need to remember your practice. You need to always be watchful and heedful, care or heedful. Heedful means be very careful about your practices, developing the positive emotions. And always guard the doors of the doors means the gateways of the senses. And this is particularly important in today's world because our senses are running wild. The eye wants to see something, the ear wants to listen something. You know, now you see many young people going on the road, both the ears are plugged by the phone with whatever attached to, obsessed with the songs and things like that. And then taste, because of our obsession with the taste, so many restaurants are coming out. People make so many different types of food, mixing two different things, and they say this is this is that. Stupid as we are, we all go, oh, very nice. Because we are obsessed. And all these big malls that you see around are a result of our demand. The malls exactly show the same thing. The color television for seeing, then cloth for touching, restaurant for tasting, then the CD, DVD songs for listening. And we get obsessed with there. And they cheat us. Buy one, one free. I have so many things to say, but I don't want to waste your time. Today, we are seeking pleasure, not happiness. There is a difference between pleasure and happiness. Pleasures are experienced by the senses. Happiness is experienced by the mind. The mind, the mental, the positive emotions, the mind, we hardly touch. We only use the senses. And this is actually very risky. Not only in this lifetime. In this lifetime it is risky because you run and run chasing the sense objects, then you get completely tired because there's nothing inside and there's no happiness. In the future life, when we talk about getting happiness in the future life, then the habit must be formed on the mental consciousness. Because what goes to the next life is mental consciousness, not the senses, not the sense consciousnesses. So therefore, when we talk about meditation, Dharma practice, we are involving this mental consciousness, forming a positive habit with that, leaving a positive imprint on that, so that when that mental consciousness at the time of the death departs from our body, it goes with the positive habits. So therefore, like going around the temple and doing some prayer, it's good, it's not the real Dharma practice. It's not the real Dharma. Real Dharma practice is something that you do by involving your mind, changing your mind, transforming your mind. The very meaning of Chu means change. Chu says, change. Change means changing the mind from negative to the positive. We can do a lot of talking on this, restraining the senses. So for a meditator also, one of the first conditions is to restrain the senses. That's it. That is this completes 5th chapter. Declare your faults. Okay, then we have this. Repeatedly examine your mind. That it is one. Guard the doors of senses. Repeatedly examine your mind 3 times a day, 3 times a night. Dua. Takdare ngajo nangjo nala tundu yawa tundu nyamle 3 times a day, 3 times a night. Then when you are told after receiving an empowerment from His Holiness, when you are told to do 3 times a day, 3 times a night, then later on people start coming. Why we have to do this 3 times a day, 3 times a night? Somebody asked me this question. I had no answer. Now I have an answer. Now when they ask that question to me, then I tell them, how many times you eat in a day? Right? Right, in a day we have to eat many times for the body. So similarly for the mind also we need to nourish the mind repeatedly, not one time. Especially the mind is so, stuck in the quagmire of negative emotions. So therefore you really need to make attempt to pull that mind from that quagmire of negative emotions. For that you need to do that practice repeatedly. 3 times a day, 3 times a night, meaning as much as possible. Declare your faults, do not find others' mistake. Conceal your qualities and reveal those of the others. This is quite clear. Declare your faults. If you want to talk about fault, then talk about the faults, your own fault, your own weaknesses. Try to reduce that. Talk about that. It's not your job, not your duty to talk about the faults of other people. Right? We are very fond of highlighting the faults of others, not our own. We get very pleased and happy when somebody says a little bit good thing about you. Your eyebrows also raise up, So the Tibetan, there's a Tibetan saying, that means the person will not be able to find his or her own fault, just like the butter lamp. The butter lamp, when you burn the butter lamp, it gives light all over, but underneath it's dark. So we are like that, butter lamp. You remain dark, you talk about other people, but yourself, do not find others' faults. Conceal your qualities. Then, about your qualities, let others talk about your achievement. Let others talk about your good things. Don't talk about your good things to others. Reveal those of others. Okay. Give up wealth and respect, and forever give up arrogance and fame. Have less desire and be content, and repay deeds of kindness. Give up wealth and respect. Give up wealth and respect. Of course, you cannot give up wealth like that without thinking, as I already mentioned. Give up wealth means give up craving to wealth, and give up expecting respect. Min kosa kambu semola chito zikchana zawane chaba azame kebaru dine chaba lasena. The name and fame and the respect is really like climbing a branchless, dry, tall tree. The higher you climb, the greater is the risk to fall down. In the beginning we run for respect. Then later on, look at some of the so-called VIPs. Wherever they go, they are chased by policemen, You can't really. And how Lady Diana died, we all remember. You see, she was quite famous. Then the press people and photographers, they were chasing, and she had a car accident and she died. There are many cases like that. And ordinary people, when you want to sleep, sleep peacefully. When you want to go, nobody is chasing, nobody is watching. Total, complete freedom. And more than human beings, the birds, they are completely free, except that sometimes they fear some animals, but otherwise they are free, They sit on one branch a little bit and then climb. If they want to go to America, they go, they don't need visa, you see. The birds, other animals, they don't need visa. The stupid human beings, wherever they go, they need visa, they need return permission, return visa, exit permit, all those things, you see. The birds don't need this. And human beings need so many things. Human beings need eyeglass. Have you seen a bird wearing eyeglass? So these are some interesting things to think about. Interesting things to think about. The point that I'm making is, human beings, because of this big brain, instead of using this brain for positive things, end up thinking about manipulating, thinking about so many things. Because of this, then too many too many thoughts coming up, then as a result you end up doing so many things, and then as a result you get depression, loneliness, low self-esteem, high blood pressure, everything. Animals don't suffer from that. much less. Say all the bad things about the animal just near the dog. Doesn't make any difference to him. He's so sensitive because of this brain. So therefore, unless we are able to fine-tune this mind, this brain, and develop right perspective, we'll have endless suffering, endless problems. So therefore, it is important to train this mind. That is the point that I'm trying to make. And forever give up arrogance and fame. Arrogance. Arrogance is arrogant, you become proud and arrogant, then you get inflated like a balloon. When you are inflated like a balloon, try to put some water on it and see whether the water stays on that, it will not stay. So similarly, when you are inflated and arrogant, then there's no room for receiving higher knowledges. It's not good for you. Pride goes before a fall. Because when you're arrogant, you go like this, and then you stumble, This is an example. This is a small example, Arrogant and fame. Fame, what is use of fame? If somebody says you are Buddha, you're not going to become Buddha. Somebody says you are dog, you don't have to bark. Okay? Who you are. Just by giving some name, you don't become that one. Have less desire. I already spoke about this in relation to the senses. And be content. Contentment is the best wealth. When you're contented, you're happy, you have everything. If you're not contented, you want more and more, become Bill Gates. So what will you do then? I think he's not a bad example because he's giving also a lot of money to others. There are many others who have a lot of money, but however rich you are, you have only one stomach. There are many horrible stories I heard about some of the rich people, Horrible. If I tell you one story, there are stories like they are so rich, they have to, because they are rich, they have many friends. False friends mostly. Your purse is jingling with money, you have many friends, right? So they have many friends. Because they have many friends, they have to attend many parties. But as I said, they have only one stomach, they can't eat much. So they go to one party, eat something. For the next party, they don't have space, they go to the toilet, vomit. Go to the sea beach, and then they are like servants, whoever gives you a new towel, you wash your clothes and they throw it. And the next time, use new towel. There's no end to stupidity. Today. And repay deeds of kindness. That's very, very important. Whoever has done something kind, don't forget it. That doesn't meditate on love and compassion and stabilize bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, the wish to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. You can cultivate bodhicitta only if you have loving kindness and compassion towards sentient beings. Loving kindness means wishing all sentient beings meet with happiness. Compassion means wishing all sentient beings without suffering. Affirming and non-affirming. Deva thera sambelodi, loving kindness. Dunge the thena nyambelodi, compassion. Then bodhicitta, wishing to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Bodhicitta is mind wishing to become for the Buddha, become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. This one? Oh, dusre. So basically he is saying that you should, repaying the kindness, he is saying that you should remember the kindness of all people. That means all the sentient beings, directly, indirectly, they are helping you. You may or may not recognize it. The breakfast that you eat in the morning, from where it come from? Once when we were giving this secular ethics, course, we try to find the source of the jacket that you are wearing. It came through the hand of so many people. So therefore, you should remember the kindness of all these people, dead or alive, whoever they are. Remember their kindness. Very, very important. And don't say that, why should I think about their kindness? This jacket I paid money. Don't think like that. Whether you pay money or not, even if you have money, if nobody makes that jacket, you won't get that jacket. So it's not the intention of other people, whether they have this wish to benefit you or not. The thing is, you are benefited. You got the benefit. Like this precious teaching, you say this precious teaching, Dharma, I pay homage to Dharma. Why? From Dharma itself, there is no motivation to benefit you. But the fact you get benefit. Similarly, the money has no motivation to benefit you, but you get the benefit, therefore you see it as something important, precious. So therefore, remember the kindness of all sentient beings and meditate on the 4 immeasurable qualities. That is infinite loving kindness, infinite compassion, infinite joy, and infinite equanimity. Through that way, then you can stabilize the bodhicitta. So this is to summarize this chapter, this is basically saying that all the good things, good qualities that you have come through the kindness of other people. All the sufferings and problems that you have is because of your narrow-mindedness, your self-cherishing attitude. All blame goes to one, that means oneself. Oneself means one's self-cherishing attitude. Remember the kindness of all sentient beings. So that is what this text is saying. Lasso, time is up.